Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of Time Warp, where we cover the movies and pop culture of an entire year. In this year's episode of Time Warp, we will cover the year of 1990 of pop culture, which includes the movies, TV, music, and notable news events. The 1990 movies, pop culture events are all celebrating their 35th anniversary. Welcome to Time Warp 1990. And on this episode, we're going to cover the movies and pop culture released in April. Everything here, Time Warp on the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you got your QR code reader there, go ahead and check out the video here on YouTube. Give us a scan. We'd appreciate that. But I need to welcome my co-host here on Time Warp here. And with me, as always, is the queen of movie foo, Lacey Adderhold. What's going on?
Not a lot. I'm very excited. This is a good fun kind of co-movie, co-TV month. So it's fun. Some fun chit chats.
Yes, we'll chat on that definitely because there's some big notable TV shows in this. But let's welcome my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's going on, buddy?
Well, I have a little case of the Miami blues now, which makes me a crybaby. But if this podcast is in living color, it will give me the wings to fly over those Twin Peaks and get the heck out of here.
Well said, Kyle. Well said. And for those of you that haven't figured out, we of course are discussing the movies and TV shows of 1990. And the April of 1990 was a banger month for TV shows, and we'll get into that. Previously on and coming soon to Time Warp, of course, we did Time Warp NFL Raider players who acted in movies and TV last year. And previously before that, we did a Buffy retrospective Time Warp. And we also covered the entire year of movies of 1984 last year because they were all celebrating their 40th anniversary. So go back and check those. And of course, we have been riding high on the year of 1990, celebrating its 35th anniversary. And as you see, we've got some from what we've done already from January, February, March, and we're doing April. And then coming up soon, we have May and June. And of course, the rest of the year will follow. But this month, we're talking about the movies and pop culture of 1990, April. And so I thought we would just go ahead and get right into it. Let's do a little time travel here, guys. All right, this is 1990 of April. What has happened in 1990, guys? So let's go ahead and get into some world news to kind of take you back where we were hanging out in April of 1990. A lot of stuff going on. And, it's interesting, too, because as the 80s were slowly starting to, leave behind, a lot of new 90s stuff was happening. And news-wise, in April, we had the 1990 United States Census begins. There are 248,709,000, is that billion? 200,
nope, 240, you're right.
248 million plus residents in the U.S. Then also we had the Iran-Contra affair going on. John Poindexter is found guilty of 5 charges for his part in the scandal. Convictions are later reversed on appeal. And April 14th, junk bond financier Michael Milken pleaded guilty to fraud-related charges. He agreed to pay $500 million in restitution and was sentenced on November 21st to 10 years in jail. April 24th, the Cold War, West Germany and East Germany agreed to merge currency and economies on July 1st, and the Hubble Space Telescope is launched aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery. The Hubble Space Telescope, that's still cruising around and giving us pictures, right, guys?
I believe so.
Yep, it's still out there doing its thing. They built it to last.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any word of, aliens attacking it or anything like that, right? We're still seeing pictures.
Not attacking it, but you did see the one picture where they were like...
Wait, I thought that was just Space Force.
That's possible. Sorry, I guess that was a visual.
Yeah, you had to watch the video for that one. So that's a little bonus for our YouTube videos. That was funny.
I was feeling the squirrel. Those nature photographers that get the pictures of the camera where the squirrel's just like
right looking at it. Am I on TV? What is this?
Little squirrel thing. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the next segment here, guys. We're going to discuss the 1990 toys and tech. And in April, and I want to thank Kyle for showcasing his personal collection here. This is the New Kids on the Block action figures, Kyle.
Kevin, I know how proud you are of your dueling Backstreet Boys and NSYNC sets. So
hey, NSYNC,
I went OG here. I went OG here.
I have the NSYNC dolls, you guys. I have the NSYNC marionettes.
Nice.
Somewhere in this house, there are at least
those
two.
Are probably worth quite a bit now. So if you weren't hanging tough with one or all 5 of these Hasbro-produced figures of the biggest band of the 1990, you were nothing and may as well leave your house again. Well, according to 9-year-old girl logic, anyway. And Kyle, you'd better have the stage mics and phone too.
Oh, payback is coming.
Also, have those interview cassettes that came with each doll pretty much drove your playground points up as well. I didn't know they had the cassette that went with the interview for each one. That's actually pretty brilliant marketing there for the toys. Did the Marriott NSYNC dolls come with anything cool, Lacey?
I don't know. They've never been opened.
Oh, well, good for you. There you go.
I worked at Suncoast when they came out, and I was just like, well, that's going to be a thing one day.
Well,
I do think that the having a cassette, because this is right as, because the girls who were doing this are the same girls who, or the people, could have been boys, we don't know, are the same kids that had the Teddy Ruxpin like 2 or 3 years beforehand. So I can just see them putting the cassettes into the Teddy Ruxpin and having the Teddy Ruxpin talk.
Oh, Teddy Ruxpin was abused with all types of cassettes, trust me. Yeah. Well, let's get into some gaming here, guys. We have the Sega Master System here. It's an 8-bit hard generation home video game console manufactured and developed by Sega. It was originally a remodeled export version of the Sega Mark III and third iteration of the SG-1000 series in consoles, which was released in Japan of 1985 with graphic capabilities improved over its predecessors. The Master System launched in North America in 1986, followed in Europe at 87, and then in Brazil and Korea in 89. The Japanese version of the Master System was also launched in 87, which features a few enhancements over the export models and by proxy the original Mark III. A built-in FM audio chip, a rapid-fire switch, and a dedicated port for 3D glasses. The Master System 2 is a cheaper model. It was released in 1990 in North America, Australia, and Europe. Kyle, did you have the Sega Master System?
I got to throw in a Zach Morris timeout because I got to give the Sega Master System some love. I owned a Sega Master System. It is the most underrated video game system of all time. It had some classic games on there like Outrun, Space Harrier, the Alex Kidd series. They even had, if you look at the picture, if you're watching on the YouTube, there's a little slot in front. They had cards that were about the size of a credit card that had games on them, and you would slide them into that slot and play the games that way.
Interesting.
And the problem with the Sega Master System was it came out a little bit too late because it actually had better sound and a little bit better graphics than the NES. But the NES was so established with Mario at this point, and the Sega Master System really never had that one game that was like the pull you in game. But
so it didn't have like the Super Mario Brothers for NES.
No, not the Mario Brothers or anything like that. But it was the precursor to the Sega Genesis. And when the original version of the Sega Genesis came out, they made an adapter that you could plug into the top of the Genesis that would play all of the Sega Master System games. And if you were to go look in my room, there is a Genesis with the Sega Master System adapter, and I still have Sega Master System games. This was a great little system. It had they had a zapper. The 3D glasses thing they tried, but the tech wasn't there yet. But this was a fun little system, and I think one of the most overlooked video game systems of all time.
Kyle, you didn't say it right.
Sega.
There you go.
Wait a minute. Technically, this is precursor to Genesis, so that version of Sega was not in use yet. So,
yeah, but come on,
Sega. It was more like Sega.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
So I have a question, Kyle. I'm looking at this picture here on YouTube, and I'm looking at the controller. Mm-hmm. Trying to compare it to the NES controller, what was your thoughts on that? Because what really made a lot of these games is the controller itself.
It was actually a great little controller on par with the NES. What was kind of neat about the early versions of the Sega Master System controller, you had a little rubber piece in the middle of the pad and you could take that out, and they gave you little screw-in joysticks that you could actually use a kind of a joystick to move it instead of the pad using the thumb pad itself. So the only thing I would say about this is those controllers felt very lightweight compared to the NES controllers. So it was a little weird feeling for that. But like I said, I think they put out some bangers for this system. And two of my all-time favorites are Space Harrier and Outrun. And Outrun was to this day is one of my favorite Sega games of all time.
Nice.
Kyle, are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cord that's coming off of the controller. It's on.
They just have it running back behind. They just have it running back behind the system is all.
Oh, so it's not actually on. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right.
Good.
All right. Let's get into some other April 1990 products here. We have Tyson Looney Tunes meal here, guys. The Looney Tune meals were a line of frozen dinners released by Tyson Foods in 1990. They're based on the characters from Warner Brothers cartoons and targeted primarily at children. The meals were discontinued in 1993 because of declining sales. Released to coincide with Bugs Bunny's 50th birthday, the meals came in boxes that featured Looney Tune characters on the front and were marketed as coming with small prizes, including comic books, trading cards, and stickers. They came in a tray divided into 3 sections: a main course, a side dish, and a dessert. In some cases, they would instead be side dishes included. Instructions for the dinner stated that they were to be heated in the microwave for 2 minutes, rotated, heated for another 1 to 2 minutes, and given additional 2 to 3 minutes to cool off before serving, making for 5 to 7 minutes of preparation. These meals were similar to Kids Kitchen and Kids Cuisine, other popular frozen dinner brands aimed at children at the time. I think I remember seeing these guys. They were obviously not my thing because I wasn't the age that this was targeting, but I assume they were popular at the time. Do you guys remember having any of these? Yeah, Lacey?
I remember I was babysitting at the time, in 1990. I was still babysitting in high school. And this one woman that I babysat for, her 3 kids. And if you look closely, the one with Bugs Bunny on it says Bugs Bunny Chicken Chunks. That's the name of it, right? The one that says Daffy Duck says Daffy Duck Spaghetti and Meatballs. I will never forget the kids, because the kids see it in the grocery store. They just see the picture of Bugs Bunny and then they point and they want it. Okay. Mom brings it home. They're not reading the box. Right. So I'm told that they're supposed to have these for dinner. I'm putting them in, of course, the thing is with microwaves, it takes 21 minutes because you can't, you stack them, right? Because you can't do them all at once back then. So 15 minutes into it, and the 6-year-old who has just learned how to read, or maybe she was 7, and she looked at it and she was like, Bugs Bunny Chicken Chunk. And she just like explodes crying. Like she thinks
I don't want to eat Bugs Bunny.
Was terrified. Like she was terrified. It's set off like a spark of like both of the other kids like freaking out, crying because they don't understand why older sisters cry. It was a situation. I
can imagine for kids not understanding. It's like, wait, I don't want to eat Daffy Duck. I don't
right. And I kept saying, no, he's not a bunny. He's a chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a bunny. He's not a chicken. He's a bunny. It was just a situation. So that I can understand why the sales were going down, because their parents were trying not to traumatize their children into thinking that they were eating cartoon animals.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into some born in 1990 celebrities born in April of 1990. And the ones that we have a list on here are Sawyer Fulton, a professional wrestler, Natasha Negovalis, a Canadian actress, Charlie McDermott, actor, Kristen Stewart from the Twilight Saga, Alex Pettyfer, English actor, and Maren Morris, singer and songwriter, Hannah Dune. Also, we have Christian Alexander, also actor, Emma Watson, Britt Robertson, Tio Oliveris, Bree Essrig, Machine Gun Kelly, musician, Matthew Underwood, and Dev Patel, all born in April of 1990. So I don't know if these are making you guys old or not, but it's starting to make me feel a little old. So yeah. Next, we are going to discuss the music of 1990. Now, before we do have some music news that we wanted to share here, guys, and we have an update. Remember when we mentioned last month that in April of 1990, we have Gloria Estefan, April 4th, returns to Miami, Florida after undergoing back surgery following the March 20th tour bus accident. She came out of that pretty well, and I remember we were all worried about for her as well.
She had several rods put in her back at the time.
Yeah, that was a major surgery she had. It was a big deal.
She actually was her and several of the Miami Sound Machine were very lucky to get out of that.
I seem to remember she wasn't quite as mobile, and she couldn't do a lot of the dance routines that she normally was known for and stuff, but she still went on performing afterwards. So yeah.
I remember there was a controversy about I want to say it was like Z97 or 99X or there was a DJ that got fired for making a joke about how the rhythm finally got her or something.
Ouch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember there being a big thing, somebody rolled up a newspaper and whacked him on the nose.
Yeah. What's interesting about that's bad taste there, because what's interesting about Gloria Estefan is that her and her music, I think, was widely liked by a lot of people.
I mean, she crossed a lot of borders. Yeah.
I think she was one of the most beloved singers at that time, and still.
Oh yeah, by far, yeah. All right, next we have
away for Selena.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next we have April 5th. Michael Jackson is awarded the Artist of the Decade by George H.W. Bush at the White House. And then next we have, and this, I knew this was going to happen eventually. Is April 6th. Motley Crue's Tommy Lee suffers a mild concussion after falling off a scaffolding above his elevated drum kit during a performance in New Haven, Connecticut. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Tommy Lee of Motley Crue is famous for having an extravagant drum kit that did a lot of things through many of the years of the tours of Motley Crue. It used to tumble forward and backward. That was one of the original ones where you went upside down. And this one here showing part of a circular shape, and the drum kit just goes around in a circle, and he goes upside down. And I remember there was
trying to put a drum kit in the Stargate. That's not okay.
Yeah, it looks like a drum kit Stargate. You're right. There's also one where it took him out over the crowd as well on this very extravagant kit that was set up. He was always known for doing it, and apparently he fell off the scaffolding. It looked like, my guess is that it wasn't in the drum kit when he fell off. I think he was in the scaffolding trying to maybe get to the drum kit, and that's what happened there. So, but he's okay. He's all right. He continued on. So that was a
debatable, but
true. But 1990 was a big year for Motley Crue. It was also the beginning of the end of, at that time, when Vince Neil was eventually going to be fired from Motley Crue, and he did not join the band in the next album that they recorded. So, but they eventually got back together and stuff. So yeah, there you go. Next, Elton John, live from Farm Aid, as many others as well. April 7th, Neil Young, Elton John, Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, John Mellencamp, Guns N' Roses, Jackson Browne perform at Farm Aid 4 in Indiana. John dedicates Candle in the Wind to AIDS patient Ryan White during his performance. White dies the following day.
This was huge.
Yeah, it was. It was big.
I just goosebumped. I remember this in the news about Ryan White. Ryan the next day.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that felt surreal, like right out of a movie. Just the fact that he performances and he passed away.
What was interesting about this one too, and I think they had a couple more as well. What was neat was that Farm Aid was more than just about the country artist as well. They started getting in any big name that they could to help support Farm Aid, which I thought was great. So that was really neat. Also hot on the trail of the tour here, April 13th, Madonna starts her controversial Blonde Ambition tour in Tokyo, Japan. I think that's right around she came out with that coffee table book where she was nude in it.
Yeah, the sex book. It was called Sex. Yeah.
Yeah, the sex book. Yeah. So that's probably why it was controversial. So there you go.
I was so sheltered. I have no recollection of this. I was.
There was a big debate about that book being in public libraries.
Yes,
that too.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Next, we have April 16th. A massive tribute concert is held at Wembley Stadium for recently freed anti-apartheid activist Nelson Mandela, who appears in a pre-taped 45-minute speech at the event. Performers include Anita Baker, Tracy Chapman, Peter Gabriel, the Neville Brothers, and Neil Young. The event is broadcast to 61 countries around the world. I remember MTV covered this too, and it was a big deal on MTV. So when Nelson Mandela was released, so yeah,
I saw him speak at Georgia Tech.
that is so cool. How long did that event last? Do you remember?
I mean, it was a couple hours, but it was one of those things where, there was, lead-ins, and he didn't talk for 2 hours, but yeah, he did a speech there. There were a couple of. I wonder if I still have because they gave out programs and everything. I gotta have it somewhere.
That's cool. That's cool that you got a chance to see him live.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It was, I think that was like 91, maybe. I think it was because he did like a big kind of a world tour, like a talking tour.
Yeah. All right, next we have two events here in music, and they're important. April 24th, Janet Jackson is honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And this is a big deal, too. April 25th, Jimi Hendrix' Fender Stratocaster, on which he performed his famous version of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock, is auctioned off in London for $295,000. I'm sure that could get more money now. I don't know where that guitar is now, but that is a famous guitar. And in famous hair metal history here, guys, this is a big deal. April 27th, Axl Rose marries model Erin Everly, daughter of the singer Don Everly of the Everly Brothers, in a Las Vegas ceremony. Divorce papers are filed later on May 24th, then withdrawn, then filed again in October. And for those of you that don't know, Erin Everly was the inspiration for Sweet Child of Mine, probably their biggest hit. So in case you're curious about some of those lyrics, they were met because of this woman right here, Erin Everly. There you go. All right. This is where we get into the Billboard Top 100 list, guys, and we do a few at a time. And this one's a special month for me. I'll get into that in a moment. But the top, the 8 or so songs that we're going to discuss start off with number 76 through 69. And 76, we have Love Takes Time by Mariah Carey, Epic by Faith No More, Here We Are by Gloria Estefan, Get Up Before the Night Is Over by Technotronic featuring Ya Kid K, I Remember You by Skid Row, What Kind of Man Would I Be by Chicago, King of Wishful Thinking by Go West, and Girls Night Out by Tyler Collins. Lacey, do any of these stand out for you?
Well, The King of Wishful Thinking is on the soundtrack for Pretty Woman.
Yes.
So that I know very well. And then I Remember You. Yeah. Skid Row. A lot of those guys, like Skid Row and the Scorpions, a lot of those guys used to hang out at a couple of the clubs down at Little 5 Points. And I feel like that would have been right around the time that I started hanging out down there. I definitely remember some of the lyrics. I can't say I remember all of them.
I'll elaborate on that shortly. Kyle, what some songs do you know here?
Well, Love Takes Time by Mariah Carey. This is well before she became the bane of most people's Christmases. This is when she exploded on the scene shortly after debuting on Arsenio Hall, and just everybody just being blown away by her voice. And this is classic, great Mariah Carey. Obviously, we have a couple of great ballad songs in here. And come on, King of Wishful Thinking, Go West. To this day, it's one of those songs, if I hear it on the radio, it's going to pull me in. It's obviously the Pretty Woman time, but it's such a catchy tune anyway, with the beat and the lyrics and just how it is. It's kind of one of those things, you get it in your head and it's stuck in your head for at least 4 or 5 hours after you've heard it.
Faith No More was on. Oh yeah, go ahead, Lexi.
I would like to say that I very much like Mariah Carey's Christmas song. I even bought the movie, the animated movie that she did. It's adorable. It's super cute.
I may have a Hallmark movie that co-stars her, so I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
I was actually crushed on her at this time.
She was gorgeous. She was so beautiful at that.
Yeah, she was really cute. Epic, Faith No More. Faith No More was like they hit the scene hard, and that was the famous video that had the flopping fish. That some people were like, "What's going on with the flopping fish?" And I remember seeing them live at a small club right before they hit it big, around this time actually. So yeah. Now the number 72, I Remember You by Skid Row. For those of you that don't know me on Facebook, you can watch a certain wedding video of my wife and I getting married in 2022. And Skid Row, I Remember You is our song. We used to do a lot of road trips, which we still do, and that song came on, and we've done some fun videos and riding around in Scotland, lip syncing to that song. And we actually love it so much that we incorporated the lyrics of that song with our wedding vows, and you can see that in the video if you know me on Facebook. So it's pinned to the top of my Facebook page, and we had some fun incorporating those lyrics into our wedding vows. It was a lot of fun. So that song there is obviously very personal to both my wife and I. So there you go. All right, guys. Next we have some TV shows. Now we're going to spend a little time on the TV shows and some of the TV events of April 1990s, because there was some very important TV shows and events that happened. And starting right off, we got two that we're going to talk about. And Kyle, I'm going to give you a minute on one of these here. April 1st, what was dubbed the Ultimate Challenge, the Ultimate Warrior defeats Hulk Hogan for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 6 from Toronto's Skydome. The pay-per-view event marks the first time that WrestleMania was held outside of the United States. Kyle, I know you're a big wrestling fan. Give me some thoughts on this WrestleMania.
Every now and then there is a point where professional wrestling breaks into the mainstream hardcore. This was one of those times. You were talking about, at the time, the two biggest professional wrestlers on the planet. Obviously, everybody knew who Hulk Hogan was. The Ultimate Warrior was a guy that came in and just blew everybody away with his physique, his energy, and everything. The problem was he was a nut job and he couldn't wrestle. But Vince McMahon loved him and loved his look, and he was ready to move on.
Wait. What do you mean he couldn't wrestle?
He was very raw, very green. Didn't really have a great skill set. He wasn't.
Okay.
He was all muscle. Didn't. Lacey.
He looks like Neon Alice Cooper. Sorry.
Kind of. No. I mean, kind. But I mean,
she's spot on there, Kyle.
No, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue with it. But the crazy thing was, they sold out Skydome in record time for this. It was insane. Nobody thought. I mean, it was meant to be a passing of the torch. Hogan was supposed to move on. He was headed out to Hollywood, and it bombed so bad with the Ultimate Warrior as champion. Kevin, you will probably actually remember this, because as a G.I. Joe fan, the Ultimate Warrior lost the title in less than a year to the then Iraqi supporter, evil heel, Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter. I've met Sergeant Slaughter. I've got my picture with him.
But this is when they made him the heel Iraqi supporter, which everybody was just vicious on, which led to Hogan coming back, beating Slaughter for the title, and the rest is history. But this was like one of those huge moments in professional wrestling where it just transcended. I knew people who weren't wrestling fans who got the pay-per-view to watch that match because they were so curious.
That is funny. That's funny. Wow, that's great.
I kind of dig the, what's his name? Ultimate Warrior. I kind of dig his fringy boots. He has like super fringy cowboy boots.
Dude, it does look like a Neon Alice Cooper a little bit.
He's Neon Alice Cooper, and I just don't think I can ever see him in another way.
Real quick funny story, because they've done a lot of documentaries about him and this. Oh. At Skydome, the rampway to the ring was so long, they were all riding carts. He decided he was going to run down to the ring, and he blew himself up, which means he was winded, gasping for air, just because it was such a long run down to the ring. So by the time the match started, he was already out of breath and in bad shape.
That's funny. Well, the next bit of news, April 15th, The Living Daylights the James Bond movie, The Living Daylights, makes its network broadcast television premiere on ABC. This would be the final time that a James Bond film would make its American television debut on ABC. The next Bond film, License to Kill, would premiere on Fox in 1993. ABC wouldn't broadcast the Bond series again until 2002 under the title The Bond Picture Show. I'm a huge fan of the Timothy Dalton 2 movies that we got. Living Daylights is a great fun film. I actually prefer the follow-up picture, License to Kill, more. Robert Davi, the evil villain, and that was great. But I love The Living Daylights. I love Timothy Dalton. I feel like this was the last non-PC version that we had of Bond, and I love Timothy Dalton for that. Lacey?
If you look closely, Robert Davi's henchman is Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
I think it was a non-speaking role.
Yeah, that was in License to Kill. No, he had a role.
Yeah, I mean, did he speak? I can't remember. I don't think.
Yeah,
said
he did
that.
speak. Yes, yeah. He had some good moments in that movie. So yeah. All right, the next couple of TV events that we have here is April 21st, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, a special program warning children about the inconvenience of drugs and featuring characters from several Saturday morning cartoon shows, is simultaneously broadcast by ABC, BET, CBS, Fox, NBC, USA Network, and Nickelodeon. And the ad here says a special presentation of all the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences cartoon all series to the rescue. For the first time, more than 20 of your favorite characters together in an unforgettable story of fun, friendship, and growing up starts at 9:30 a.m. on your Saturdays. I was at an age where I wasn't watching Saturday morning cartoons, Kyle, but this was a big deal.
Oh, this was a huge deal. I remember hearing about this, and I wanted to watch it because I couldn't believe what they were doing. I mean, you had characters from every major network Saturday morning cartoon. You had Disney had Huey, Dewey, and Louie in it from DuckTales. The Turtles were in this thing. This was huge, and to have it simultaneously broadcast on all these networks at the same time, this was something that people were just kind of mind blown that they were able to collaborate like this and make this happen. And it was a huge deal because of the message it had, and just people just being like, they actually could get all the logistics and everything worked out to make this happen. It was a pretty amazing feat at the time.
Do you remember this at all, Lacey?
I do. I feel like as a 90s, as a teen in the 90s, I feel like the Gen X condition, we were told that we were going to be offered way more drugs. We were told that we were going to be on fire a lot. We were told to watch out for quicksand. And that's not, like, I know there's a bunch of memes about this, but it's true. Like, we were told that, like, people were just going to walk up to us on the street and be like, take some drugs, kid. And I have never.
Also nuclear warfare, get under.
Right? Yeah, those desks,
desk,
get under the desk.
Yeah.
Because that's going to save you.
My biggest problem was everybody always told me the floor was lava.
Yeah. All right. The next special we had, April 22nd, was the Earth Day special, a 2-hour commercial-free special event premieres on ABC. And the promotional picture we have up here says the biggest stars of the 90s in the most important story of our time. Any profits occurring to Time Warner Inc. from this program will be given to the people of the Earth Foundation. I remember vaguely, I see pictures of Danny DeVito and Chevy Chase and some stars that are on here as well.
Streisand.
Yeah. I don't know if I watched this. I have no memory of this. So yeah.
All
right.
The middle three are. I have no idea. Can't tell.
Yeah. Next, we have a couple of interesting TV events here. April 30th, the long-lost pilot show for I Love Lucy is broadcast on CBS as a special. The episode that started it all, I Love Lucy, never before seen, the very first show hosted by Lucy Arnaz. Started at 9 p.m. So there you go, Lucy. I don't remember seeing that at all.
I remember hearing about it, but I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah. And then we had a debut April 4th, 1990. The Marshall Chronicles debuted right after Doogie Howser. Doogie Howser started at 8 p.m. The Marshall Chronicles started at 8:30. Marshall is a young high school kid who breaks the fourth wall and tells us about his life just as if we're sitting with us in our living room. Mostly the show revolves around him in love with the most beautiful girl in school whom he's known since childhood, but who is dating the school bully, who, of course, makes Marshall's life miserable. Stars Joshua Beckett, Gabriel Bologna, and Bradley Gregg. I don't remember this show, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of some other shows mixed into Parker Lewis, which was
like
also
Parker Lewis.
Yeah, which also was
nobody did it better than Parker Lewis as far as on TV.
Yeah, but Parker Lewis, let's be honest, was a ripoff of Ferris Bueller's Day Off too. So,
oh yeah,
but done very well actually, and I actually almost kind of enjoyed it more as a TV show anyway. So yeah, breaking the fourth wall. There you go. Next, guys, we have one of the biggest TV events of the 90s, and that is Twin Peaks. Debuted April 8th, and one of the posters here says, "The mystery begins tonight. Who killed Laura Palmer? What's the FBI doing here? who videotaped Donna and Laura in the woods. Twin Peaks. April 8th, the pilot episode for Twin Peaks airs on ABC. The 2-hour pilot is the highest rated movie for the 1989-90 season with a 21.7 rating and is viewed by 34.6 million people. In Los Angeles, Twin Peaks become the 7th most watched show of the week, earning 29% of the viewers. The most watched show being Married with Children, which gathered 34% of the viewers. And for those of you that don't know, it's about an idiosyncratic FBI agent who investigates the murder of a young woman in an even more idiosyncratic town of Twin Peaks. Creators were Mark Frost and David Lynch. Stars Kyle MacLachlan, Michael Ontikine, Machen Amick, Laura Flynn Boyle, Sherilyn Fenn, and Cheryl Lee as Laura Palmer. Kyle, you're burning to say something. What you got?
Well, Glacy was talking about how everybody was saying we were just going to get handed drugs everywhere we were in the early 90s. Twin Peaks was the reason why, because you needed to be on good drugs to understand what the hell was going on in this
show. You've got your DVD there, Lacey. What is that? The entire series there?
This is the entire series, and I have a story about it. This is the definitive gold box edition.
Interesting.
Okay, I have never watched this. Let me tell you why. I don't understand David Lynch. I just don't. It's cool. If other people love him, that's great. David Lynch is on the list of directors that I can't watch. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I need A to B to C. I'm like the occasional Tarantino flashback. Cool, we're good. But like, I need to know exactly what's going on because I don't understand his stuff. The number of people who have gifted me because of this, just like you're completely shocked.
You're pointing to your massive physical media.
Yes, sorry for the people who are listening. I have a ginormous video or DVD collection, Blu-rays. And the number of people, kind of like you, are shocked that I don't own a copy of Chud, because everyone's supposed to own a copy of Chud, which I do not own.
That's an inside joke, yes.
Right. But the number of times I have been gifted this. I end up like keeping it for a while and then I just never watch it because I'm just not a fan of David Lynch. I do love a lot of the actors in this. I like Michael Ontikine.
I may have to take that off your hands because I was debating whether or not rewatching.
No. This stays in the collection because if I get rid of it, someone's going to give me another copy. I don't think it's just, it has to stay in the collection. It's going to stay over there in the unwatched section so that people can see that I own it.
Gotcha.
And I'm not going to buy it for
I
you.
got you.
I also have a copy of Fire Walk with Me, which is like the follow-up or the prequel.
It was a movie follow-up of it. And then, of course, we really never got the full answer until just a few years ago when they brought Twin Peaks back. I think it was on a Showtime or I think it was Showtime or Cinemax. They brought it back, and then we finally got the wrap up to it. But I just had a thought, Kevin. We mentioned Chud. I think we should set up a P.O. box somewhere and see how many, put out that address and see how many copies of Chud we could have sent to that P.O. box.
All right, well, back on target.
Better be in Florida or LA or wherever, Santa Barbara, because no ma'am.
Back on target here, guys. I want to touch on, did you have another thing you want to say about Twin Peaks?
Yes, one more thing. I will say the only reason that I actually contemplated starting at least a little bit of watching Twin Peaks, and I didn't do it, but Psych did an episode in like the 6th season, and it had a bunch of the stars in it from Twin Peaks, and the name of the episode was Dual Spires.
Nice.
And they redid the theme song and everything, and had people like walking backwards and like water dripping upward. I don't know. I'm assuming these are all things that are reminiscent of Twin Peaks, but yeah.
I was one of these viewers, and I feel like Twin Peaks was lost before Lost. I'm just going to put it that way. Where it was very confusing, and it was really tough to kind of stay on target. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. When we got to the end of Twin Peaks and we found out who killed Laura Palmer, I really didn't care at the time because it was just so weird. And speaking of who killed Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks, I didn't remember this. So I decided to do a little Google search. An AI overview said, in Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer was murdered by Bob, an evil spirit who possessed her father, Leland Palmer. While Leland was the one who physically committed the act, it was Bob, not Leland, who was ultimately responsible. Bob had been tormenting and abusing Laura for years while inhabiting Leland's body. Frank Silva as Bob is in a promotional still for Twins, and if you're watching the YouTube video up here, you can see that. And by the way, there's a very funny poster promo up here that I think was kind of brought on by some backlash from fans saying, when the hell are you going to actually find out who killed Laura Palmer? And it says, finally, Saturday, November 10th, find out who killed Laura Palmer. Really? Kyle.
I remember the outrage because people were getting so sick of being deceived and having it go different directions, and just like, can you just tell us the truth? And I think people still say that about the ending of Lost to this day. So
yeah. For that reason, I can never rewatch Lost ever again. I wish I could have all those hours back to do something else. So that is Twin Peaks, guys. We had it. Oh yeah, Kyle.
Well, no, there's something I need to say before we talk about our next show, Kevin. I just got to say, homie, don't play that.
I see what you're doing there. Next, In Living Color. Homie, don't play that. April 14th premieres on Fox in Living Color. The Wayans siblings present an African-American focused sketch comedy show created by Keenan Ivory Wayans. I'm going to name off the list of stars we have on here, guys. Stars: Keenan Ivory Wayans, Jim Carrey, Kelly Cofield Park, David Allen Greer, Tommy Davidson, Kim Wayans, Sean Wayans, Jamie Foxx, Damon Wayans, and of course, Jennifer Lopez as one of the Fly Girls. And I got my season 1 right here. I think I have season 2 and 3 over there as well. But Living Color, season 1, big deal on this show. I watched it religiously. It was hilarious. And one of the things I'm just going to mention real quick that I remember the most was the genius opportunity that Living Color took to do their own halftime show while the Super Bowl was playing. So you would watch the Super Bowl, and then when the halftime came, you would switch over to Fox because Fox wasn't carrying the Super Bowl at that time, and you would watch an Living Color skit, and they did Men on Film. One of the most, I will always remember that. It was one of the funniest skits that they did. Kyle, what are your thoughts on Living Color?
This is one of the most iconic comedy sketch series of all time. I mean, the talent alone that came out of Living Color, and still to this day, you've got some of the most memorable characters from sketch. Fire Marshal Bill, Homie the Clown, the Men on Film. I mean, like you said, the halftime, the whole concept of Men on Film was it was two gay guys reviewing films. One of them gets hit with a football and goes straight in the middle of it. It was the show was hilarious, and not only was the show hilarious, it was one of the few comedy sketch shows that I've ever seen that actually legitimately played on feuds with different people. They had a big feud with Milli Vanilli. They had a big feud with Arsenio Hall for a while, and it was just they pulled no punches. And I mean, the talent, like I said, on par with the first season of Saturday Night Live about the talent that came out of Living Color.
Jim Carrey's version of Vanilla Ice's video destroyed him.
Yeah.
Just destroyed him. Lacey, your thoughts on Living Color, and then Kyle, I want you to read a little bit of trivia we have there.
I don't know that I ever actually saw an episode of In Living Color. Not because I didn't want to, but just because that was my junior to senior year. 1990. It would have been the end of my junior year, and so I was like applying to colleges and going on all the college visits. And I want to say this was on Friday nights, right? And so I was always every weekend was like going to another college to like look at the with my parents. And so I don't think I ever saw an episode of this because the next year I would have been senior year, which was getting everything done, and then first year college. So I think this was like that one little section of time where it just wasn't on my radar.
This was the vehicle that shot a certain guy into fame here, and that's of course Jim Carrey. And we had a wonderful run by the Wayans brothers. Well, but Jim Carrey, he was a standout with Fire Marshal Bill and the Workout Girl and a bunch of other funny stuff that he's done. Kyle, hit us up with some trivia we have here on this.
Real quick, I just want to say this too. If there is no In Living Color, there's no Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
But Keenan Ivory Wayans, who was the founder of the show and kind of the matriarch along with his family, he left the show in the middle of the fourth season over disputes with Fox about censoring the show's content and rerunning early episodes without his consultation. At the end of the season, Kim Wayans and Sean Wayans followed their brother in leaving the show. Damon Wayans had already left the show at the end of the 3rd season to pursue his film career, and Marlon Wayans left the show after the 12th episode of the 4th season. This is about the time Damon Wayans had done The Last Boy Scout. Mo Money was just coming out.
Yeah.
He was really hitting his stride here. And of course, the controversial dialogue during the Men on Football sketch in the live Super Bowl halftime party special was almost completely ad-libbed. And of course, Rose, you said it earlier, Kevin Rosie Perez was the Fly Girls dance choreographer. And in fact, there is another famous Fly Girl. I can't think of her full name, but her first name is Carrie. And she is one of the regular judges on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, definitely. I always thought that like some comedy shows and TV shows, or whatever, they should capitalize on the halftime show. Because I'll be honest with you, if I had a choice to switch over to another thing, a show that I liked and watch a funny skit, there's certain halftime shows that I probably would have been happy to leave and to go, because some of them are hit or miss for me. But I just thought that was such a bold move to do that. That was great. So guys, we're going to talk about Working Girl. No, not the movie. Did you know there was a Working Girl TV series? Yes. Working Girl. NBC, April 16th, premieres. And the situation comedy is based on the popular film featuring more of the adventures of Secretary Tess McGill in the office setting, but starring Sandra Bullock instead. Also co-starring George Newbern, Anthony Tyler Quinn, and Nana Visitor, who a lot of people know from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And apparently there was a recasting at the last moment. Sandra Bullock replaced Nancy McKeon. I don't remember this TV series at all. I know it didn't last long, guys. Do you remember Working Girl starring Sandra Bullock? Anybody?
I vaguely do. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember hearing seeing the ads for it, but I don't know that I ever saw it. But I am meeting George Newbern this weekend.
Oh, for a convention?
Yeah. Yep. He's going to be at Huntsville this weekend.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I remember this briefly because this was at a point where television was really rating Hollywood movies and trying to remake them into shows, and they had a lot of bombs. Working Girl was one of them. They tried to do the Ferris Bueller TV show, which was just really bad. A few other ones, but yeah, this did not. I think maybe 4 episodes actually aired of this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Another show came out that was way more popular than Working Girl and lasted for a very long time, and one of my favorites, and that is April 19th, Wings on NBC premieres, guys. The outrageous new series from the producer of Cheers. Look up in the air. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a high-flying comedy where the comedy always arrives on schedule. Wings. Brothers Brian and Joe Hackett attempt to run an airline on the New England island of Nantucket while surrounded by their various wacky friends and employees. Creators are David Angel, Peter Casey, and David Lee. Of course, stars Tim Daly, Stephen Weber, Crystal Bernard, David Schramm, Rebecca Shull, Tony Shalhoub, and Thomas Hayden Church, who's got their complete collections of Wings, guys, like I've got right here. You have the better collection than I do, Lacey. Mine's the older version where you open it up and it's just got like all the individually wrapped DVDs. It was the cheapy version before you got your cool version. Lacey, you are on mute, so just make sure. There you go.
I pulled it to Lacey again. Whoops. It's actually similar. You can slide it out, but it's kind of like the top if it comes down.
Right,
it's the same thing where they're in
nice.
the little. I mean, they're slight. It's slightly better because they're in the little cardboard pieces.
Nice.
But it's not that much better. I promise.
It's safe to say, guys. Kyle, I want to start with you. I know how much of a big fan you are with Wings, and I just need to say real quick, when Erin and I first started dating, and she was noticing my collection, and I think Wings was being reissued on full collection. She's like, "You gotta get that. You gotta get that for me." And I remember I bought her own. It's interesting. Kyle, your thoughts on Wings?
I actually remember watching the premiere on NBC and just absolutely falling in love with the cast of this show. And obviously, I think every red-blooded American male probably was crushing on Crystal Bernard within 5 minutes. You look at, again, this is one of those shows. Name somebody in this show who hasn't hit it big in Hollywood at this point. Tim Daly has had an amazing career. Stephen Weber is amazing. Crystal Bernard's had a great career.
Monk.
David Schramm, Tony Shalhoub, Monk. I mean, come on. Thomas Hayden Church has become one of my all-time favorite actors out of this series. This series was a classic. I don't think anybody expected Wings to take off like it did. It became part of must-see TV. It was spun out of Cheers. It is one of the all-time greatest television comedy shows ever.
Agreed.
Yeah. It was so cute. It was so quirky. I love the way the set was done too. And they had like one of the sets was the hangar. And you'd see the airplane in there. I just always thought that was a really, really cool touch. So yeah. All right, guys. I don't remember this one at all. And this is funny. It just seems like we were waiting for a certain actor to hit it big at a certain show. And George Clooney made another shot at a TV series called Sunset Beat. April 21st, premiered on was it ABC? ABC. A team of Los Angeles cops goes undercover posing as motorcycle bikers to nail street crime and other disorder in town. Stars Tuesday Night, Jason Stewart, George Clooney, Michael DeLuise, and James Tolkien. George Clooney briefly dated adult film star Ginger Lynn while they worked together on the TV show Sunset Beach. She co-starred in one of these episodes. And if you are watching the video, there's some funny stills here of him wearing the leather jacket. He's sitting on a Harley Davidson. It looks like he's talking on an old school cell phone. He's got the long hair. This is pretty funny. By the way, the one picture in the top right there is taken north of Malibu, Point Magoo. I was actually just there with my wife, Erin. There's a cool little lookout point there, and that's where that picture. A lot of commercials have been filmed there. A lot of TV shows have been filmed there. But I have no memory of the show. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. When I came across this, I was like, "What, Kyle?"
Okay, first of all, we know Clooney eventually got it right a couple years later when he ended up in Chicago doing some kind of medical drama or something like that. And it kind of caught on, but I just have to make a quick point here. Michael DeLuise is in this. Go back and look at IMDb for the DeLuise brothers, Michael DeLuise and Peter DeLuise, and look how many credits and TV shows those brothers have been in.
Or directing,
especially directing. But I mean, even starring in, especially in the early 90s, and how much of an integral part of television history the DeLuise brothers are, because it will floor you.
Yeah, interesting. Do you have any memory of the show, Lacey?
I don't have any memory of the show, but I'm just noticing that the three pictures of him on the motorcycle. Those are three different motorcycles.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the headline. Well, two of them are a little bit further out, so you can see that they're different colors and different models. But you can tell by the side view mirrors, it's not the same. So I feel like they just had a whole bunch of motorcycles. They were trying to see which one looked the best or something. I feel like these are like the test shots, and they decided.
Yeah, these are all promotional shots, of course.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think they were even promotional. I think they were the test shots for the promotions. And then somebody was like, okay, I like these three the best. And no one paid attention to the fact that he's on three different motorcycles.
Is the actor that looks like he's playing the boss, isn't he the same actor that was the principal in
Tolkien,
Back to the Future trilogy? Yep.
Yeah.
James Tolkien? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, guys, we had some shows ending in April of 1990, and some of them we've actually talked about in the previous months because they didn't last too long. Baywatch ended April 6th, but then returned in 91 and did quite well for itself. April 13th, the Pat Sajak Show ended. April 14th, the medical drama Help 1990 also ended. April 24th, Mancuso FBI ended. The TV show Tour of Duty ended its few-year run, started in 87. And April 30th, My Two Dads ended. Kyle, I was sad.
My eternal lifelong crush on Stacey Keenan.
Do you ever find out who the real dad was? Did they?
No, they actually. I think they got the results, and at the end, in the final episode, they burned them.
Yeah,
I think she went to live with just one of the dads at the time. But two, you've got the Pat Sajak Show up there, and one of the things I have to say about this, because this is always hilarious with any talk show, if you go back and watch stuff with the Pat Sajak Show, the set as it's getting closer to cancel, the set gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
That's funny. All right, let's get into the we talk about the top 30 TV shows throughout 1990. We pick a couple at a time. And the two that we're going to discuss, first one is LA Law. Had over average of 14 million viewers, close to 15 million viewers. Was on NBC. Lives and work of the staff of a major Los Angeles law firm. Creators were Stephen Baccio, Terry Louise Fisher. Stars: Corbin Burnson, Jill Eikenberry, Alan Ratchins, Blair Underwood, Jimmy Smits, Harry Hamlin, and Susan Day. I couldn't get into this show, guys. I'll be honest with you. It just wasn't my thing. Were any of you guys a fan of LA Law?
I wasn't a whole big fan of it, but I know it was, for a lot of people, it was must-watch television.
Lacey?
If you watch the opening sequence of LA Law, there's a shot of Harry Hamlin in his car on like the cell phone at the time, like the car phone, and he drives past this like gorgeous mansion. That is a street in Atlanta.
That's funny.
And it was filmed in LA, but for some reason, I guess I don't know why, but for some reason, several of the shots of residential type things were shot in promos in Atlanta.
Gotcha.
The photo, the house, it's actually like the house that's next to, I think it's the Japanese embassy. It might be the Korean embassy in Buckhead.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. But yeah, love the show. I mean, when I saw it, I wasn't like a regular watcher or whatever, but you get Corbin Burnson from this, you get Jimmy Smits, there's a ton of people.
Well, nothing has changed. They're still using Atlanta for LA and many other locations as well. So
and I'm pretty sure if you look at the left picture, the guy in the far back left, is that Dr. Giggles?
Larry Drake, yes, definitely.
Is that Dr. Giggles? Yeah.
Yeah, but is that Blair Underwood? He joined the cast too, I think. Yeah. So
yeah.
There you go. All right. The next show that we're gonna highlight is Doogie Howser. Doogie, of course, averaged around close to 14 to 15 million viewers. Doogie Howser, of course, a teenage genius, deals with the unusual problems of growing up, on top of being a licensed physician in a difficult residency program. Creators are Stephen Baccio. David E. Kelly, stars Neil Patrick Harris, Max Casella, and Belinda Montgomery. I checked. I didn't watch this show religiously, but I did check on it quite a bit. What about you guys? Looks like Lacey has. Hold on. Yeah. Lacey's got some DVDs there.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it's kind of interesting that you look at it this way. So the first episode is him going, "Oh, look, I'm a doctor." Okay, the first season. And then the second season is, "Oh, look, I'm a doctor and I have a best friend in high school," or whatever. And then the next season you have, "Oh, both of us like the same girl." Uh-oh. And then the fourth season, the final season, it's just like, I'm a doctor again. But if you look at the back, this is the weirdest thing. On the back, Doogie gets a gun. Like, he's like,
what?
I do not remember that it looks like he's trying to like,
he's target shooting in some.
Yeah, he's target shooting. So I'm wondering if at some point there's like a stalker episode or something where he has to protect somebody. I don't know, but I know. I mean, I loved the show, and of course, I love Neil Patrick Harris, and I loved that they did a nice little fun send off to the character on How I Met Your Mother, where they did a scene with Barney where he did the computer and then kind of turned around.
It was very interesting theme song. Yeah. I remember it stood out a lot. Kyle, you a Doogie fan?
I was a huge Doogie fan. I always thought this was a great show. But I mean, come on, really, who thought Neil Patrick Harris? I mean, yeah, he didn't have any kind of career after this. He was a one and done child star, never really did anything. Come on. My big question to this day is whatever happened to Lisa Dean Ryan, who played Doogie's girlfriend in this show?
Yeah,
this is her, I think.
Yeah, that was her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe it's because they only gave her half. They only gave her like a silhouette shot on the.
She was in at least the first 3 seasons of that show.
Yeah. Yeah. But they remade it, right? It's they've got a new version of it. I think it's Disney Plus, might be Paramount. I'm not sure, but
it's a girl, right?
It's in Hawaii.
It's Disney Plus.
It's in Hawaii, and it's really cute. I mean, it's not as kind of gritty because this was on actual network television, and it had you had all the notes you had to kind of hit on network. Right. With Disney, it's got a little bit more of a kind of an all shucks to it, but it's cute.
All right, guys, this is the Fandom Podcast Network, and of course, we're discussing the pop culture and TV and movies of 1990. We're going to get into the movies segment here. The first thing that we'd like to celebrate here, of course, is the 1990 actor debuts. We do about 3 or 4 at a time. And we have Rose McGowan of class of 1999 and Kristen Minter. Her first was Home Alone. And Julianne Moore, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. And Bill Camp was in Reversal of Fortune. We don't have any other events, so we're going to go ahead and get right in. Oh, yes, Lacey.
I'm also meeting Rose McGowan this weekend.
Oh, cool. Good. I like her. That's great.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're going to talk about now the movies in April of 1990, guys. And we're going to start off with a movie I will never, ever watch again. I saw it once. I was one and done. And that is, of course, this one here, The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. Drama made over $7 million in its original theatrical run here. The wife of a barbaric crime boss engages in a secretive romance with a gentle bookseller between meals at her husband's restaurant. Food, color, coding, sex, murder, torture, and cannibalism are the exotic fare in this beautifully filmed but brutal, uncompromising modern fable. Directed by Peter Greenaway, stars Richard Boehringer, Michael Gambon, Helen Mirren, and Tim Roth. Kyle, give us some trivia for The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
Well, originally this film had no rating when it was released theatrically. Eventually, Blockbuster Video originally did stock the NC-17 version of the film, but due to complaints from religious groups thinking that the NC-17 rating would bring explicit sex and violence into the mainstream, Blockbuster got copies of the film along with other NC-17 films they stocked off the shelves, and only the heavily edited R-rated version was available for rent there.
I didn't care for this film, guys. Never saw it again. Thoughts?
Same. I was particularly unimpressed with the serving of the lover on the plate. It was a very big, long plate. And it took me a second to go, wait, what? Oh. And then I was like, oh, what is happening? That was, while impressive, unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kyle, did you see it?
Actually, I've never seen this because I have had too many people say stay far away.
Good call. Good call. All right. The next film, Crybaby. Theatrical release, made about $7,736,000 its original release. 1950s Baltimore, a bad boy with a heart of gold wins the love of a good girl whose boyfriend sets out for revenge. And Lacey, you're holding up a Blu-ray copy there. Keep that up there. Director John Waters, stars Johnny Depp, Ricky Lake, Amy Locane, Iggy Pop, and Tracy Lords. I have a DVD copy right here. I don't have the Blu-ray. I got the DVD copy that says Director's Cut on there. Kyle, give us some trivia to Crybaby. You got the Kino Lorber.
I can do that. To find a young actor for the role of Wade Crybaby Walker, director John Waters brought $30 worth of teen magazines, all of which showed Johnny Depp of 21 Jump Street on the cover. Depp thought the script was funny and strange and took the offbeat role to avoid being typecast as a television teen idol. Amy Locane was only 17 when she played the part of Allison. According to an interview, Locane was young and didn't have much kissing experience. She said Johnny Depp basically taught her how to French kiss. I'm sure there was a lot of people jealous, a lot of young ladies jealous at that time when they found that out.
Keep in mind, he was 27 at the time.
Yeah, a little bit creepy there. Interestingly enough, from the casting side and What Ifs, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr., and Jim Carrey, of all people, were considered for the role of Crybaby until Johnny Depp was cast. And finally, Iggy Pop shaved his hair for the film. John Waters still has a lock of his hair in a scrapbook at home.
All right. So, I guess what, guys? I'd never seen this film at all. I was tempted. I got to be honest. I'm not a huge John Waters fan. I've seen several of his films, of course. There's some that I like. There's some that I don't. I remember the first one I saw was Pink Flamingos.
Rough start.
I wasn't quite sure what to expect from this film. I did want to watch it for this podcast. And I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised by it. I actually enjoyed it. I love the 50s theme to it. I love some of the songs on there. I thought the cast was great. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun film. I'm going to keep it in my library. Lacey, what you got there?
I have one John Waters film.
That's Crybaby.
Is the John Waters film that I own. It's funny, you have this new podcast you're doing called Be Kind and Rewind or whatnot.
Yes.
I saw this movie one time back then. I thought it was dumb. I didn't like it. It was boring, whatever. And I decided that I was gonna, because it was like $9 or something. So I was like, well, I'll get it and I'll watch it. I mean, just for the podcast. I love this movie. It's so fun. I don't know why I didn't like it back then. Weird. So yeah. I will say this is the, like you said, this is the Kino Lorber version. It's got the theatrical and the
director's cut.
The director's cut is 7 minutes longer. I watched both of them. I listened to the commentary. The commentary is fascinating. Interesting information. This is Tracy Lords this is right after she got out of the adult film industry because apparently she was human trafficked by the mob or something.
There's a whole long story there.
Yeah. Apparently during filming, the FBI raided the film set to try and find her to get her to go back and testify. And they hid her or some such thing. And then in order to make her feel better, all the people in the movie were talking about like, oh, come on, we've all been in jail. It's fine. It's unfortunate. And so they all start telling her their jail stories. Like, this person, oh, well, I was arrested for this. And, Ricky Lake was arrested for protesting. And, John Waters, or Johnny Depp was, he peed in public or something, all these different things. And the only person who did not have an arrest story was Amy Locane. And
there's some irony to that.
Before I watched the commentary, I watched all the special features, and they had all these interviews. The interview with Amy Locane, she's wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. And I thought that she had perhaps been, because I don't watch Orange is the New Black, I thought that perhaps, because at one point in the movie, she's talking about like this story about how everybody's talking about their jail stories or whatever. And she's like, and ironically, now I'm in my orange jumpsuit. And I was thinking, oh, haha, funny. She must be like on Orange is the New Black. No. During the commentary, John Waters talks about how she had a drunk driving accident, and a 60-year-old woman was killed, and she served 3 years in prison. And then when her term was over, the judge decided that wasn't hard enough. It wasn't a strong enough sentence. And so they gave her 8 more years after she finished her sentence, which I'm pretty sure is illegal, but I don't know. So I thought that was crazy.
She was eventually released from custody
in 2024.
December 2024. Yep.
But it's interesting. The commentary was done during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. Very much an interesting commentary. Lots of good interviews with everybody, and some archival interviews as well. Really fun. Ricky Lake. Super fun, cute little interview. Lots of interviews with everybody. I think everyone did a new interview with the exception of Johnny Depp. And I think that's because he was in France at the time.
Right.
But yeah.
By the way, real quick, I believe Tracy Lords, this was her first major non-pornographic film, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this was her break. This was her first break into the normal Hollywood industry.
Yeah.
That was actually one of the big deals about this movie, was that Tracy Lords was in it, and that was like, oh, she's doing a legit film for the first time.
Yeah.
And also about a 30-second cameo from Willem Dafoe.
Nice. Very, yeah. I was pleasantly surprised by this, Kyle. I had never seen it before. I just never wanted to watch it. I don't know. But I'm a big fan of films that take place during the 50s and the cars and the gangs and stuff like that. It's just it's a trope, but it's a fun trope to watch. Have you ever seen Crybaby?
I remember seeing it on cable. I don't think I've actually ever seen it all the way through, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm like you guys, John Waters does not exactly appeal to me that much. And I honestly, I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest Johnny Depp fan. I know he's done some stuff I've liked, but he is not somebody who I'm going to make an effort to go like, oh my God, Johnny Depp's in it, I must go see this. and especially some of his stuff when he was younger. I mean, obviously 21 Jump Street, but I wasn't a huge fan of that show. But it's just one of those things to where with this movie, I can think of a lot of other movies set in the 50s I'd rather go see than this one.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at like a lot of the stuff that he's done. The one movie I did like was Kathleen Turner. He directed was Serial Mom, where she's like the serial killer living in like in a neighborhood, and she plays a mom. I remember like that one. But yeah, there's a lot of the stuff I have not seen or I'm not a big fan of. So yeah.
I have 28 Johnny Depp movies. I don't think that's even close to his entire catalog.
No, it's not. Yeah.
There's at least 30 Pirates movies out there. Come on.
Yeah. Let's get to the next film here, guys, and that is Ernest Goes to Jail. Made about $25 million in its theatrical release. Bumbling Ernest P. Worrell is assigned to jury duty, where a crooked lawyer notices a resemblance with crime boss Mr. Nash and arranges a switch. Nash assumes Ernest's job as a bank employee, while Ernest undergoes Nash's sentence to the electric chair. But instead of killing him, the electrocution gives Ernest superhuman powers, enabling him to escape from jail and foil Nash's attempt to rob the bank. Directed by John R. Cherry III, stars Jim Varney, Gail Sartain, Bill Burge, and Randall Tex Cobb. Kyle, give us some trivia on Ernest Goes to Jail.
Okay, before I just gotta say, God bless Jim Varney for taking a character from a commercial and blowing it up this big. I mean, whether you like
what was the commercial again? What was that forgetting?
I
know what I mean, Vern? Know what I mean? Know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean, Vern? You know what I mean?
But what was it for, though? Do we all remember what it was for? Lacey, hold up your Blu-ray there, by the way.
I want to say it was a was it like like a car insurance or something?
I think so. Yeah, I just remember what I mean, Vern thing. So yeah,
I remember the Vern thing and the Bartles and James, the two brothers. Those are the two that kind of hit. They always kind of seem to be in the same packet of commercials.
Kyle, give us some trivia.
He did some Sprite commercials too. So as okay, so trivia. Among the famous eccentric actors whom Ernest imitates in jail while trying out for Mr. Nash are James Cagney, Walter Brennan, Humphrey Bogart, Barry Fitzgerald, Sylvester Stallone, and James Mason. This was the last successful Ernest movie at the box office. It went downhill very fast from here. And before Ernest is put in the electric chair, he is asked if he wants a blindfold or a cigarette. Ernest responds with, "I'm afraid of the dark and cigarettes will kill you." Ironically, 10 years later, Jim Varney died of lung cancer that was brought on by a lifetime of smoking.
There you go. So, guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here. I have never seen an Ernest film. I've never wanted to see an Ernest film. I just don't think I think it was targeting kids. I think it was, if that was, because I think they were kind of kids movies. The only Ernest film that I have, and I have not watched it yet, was because someone from the network, Kyle, I think it was Derek Marsh, who is a co-host of What a Piece of Junk Star Wars podcast here on the network. We were talking about Christmas movies, and he says you got to watch Ernest Saves Christmas. So I found a DVD copy of it cheap, I think, at a thrift store, and my intention is to watch it. But I've never been a fan of the Ernest character or any of the films. So I've never seen this film. Lacey, you have it on Blu-ray. Obviously, you've seen it.
I watched the day before yesterday. It's cute. It's kind of dumb. But I don't think that these were meant to be high art. Like, I mean, it's kind of
it's targeted towards kids, right? Or like maybe 13, 14-year-old boys.
Yeah, that middle school age.
I feel like tween boys is what we're going for.
Okay.
I think it has its place. The whole idea that he's kind of a mess up, he's kind of a screw up, and so he wants to become he's a janitor at a bank, and he's the night janitor. He wants to become a teller, and the boss is like, you can't be a teller because you're an idiot. And the girl, the love interest is like, I'll help you try and figure out, whatever, and become a teller. And he accidentally electrocutes himself with one of those floor cleaners. And so that becomes a through line for the movie, where he keeps accidentally electrocuting himself. And then also he gets electrocuted by the electric chair, and that gives him the ability to fly.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that might be just a little bit weird. Also, not a lot of scientific based. No.
It's an Ernest film, Lacey.
It's
You
an
throw it
Ernest
all
film,
out the window,
and
you turn your brain off, and you watch it.
Yeah, it's cute.
That's basically what it is.
Exactly. I probably won't go out of my way to get another Ernest film. I'm happy just having Jim Varney in the Toy Story movies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. Next film, guys, is I Love You to Death. Made about $15 million in its theatrical comedy. It's a black comedy. Poster says, with these people trying to kill him, Joey Boca may just live forever. I Love You to Death. Joey Boca owns a pizza parlor and is married to Rosalie, Tracy Ullman. He's also a serial womanizer. Rosalie goes to extremes when she finds that he has been cheating. Directed by Lawrence Kasdan, writer John Kotzmayer, stars Kevin Kline, Tracy Ullman, and William Hurt, just to name a few. Joan Plowright, River Phoenix, Keanu Reeves also is in this as well. Trivia, Kyle, give us some trivia on this.
Yeah, this is loosely based on the true story of Frances Toto and her 4 unsuccessful attempts to kill her cheating husband, Anthony Toto, in Allentown, Pennsylvania in 1984. Girl, you need to practice your art a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. Anthony spent 4 days in bed after being drugged and shot by Frances and her friends, who spent 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to attempted murder. Come on, guys. Just work a little more effort. That's all I'm saying. Come on. This is the first time co-starring for River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, who forged a strong friendship the previous year when Reeves was making Parenthood, in which he played alongside Phoenix's off-screen girlfriend, Martha Plimpton, and his younger brother, Joaquin Phoenix. Reeves and Phoenix began talks with Gus Van Sant during filming, and it led to them starring in My Own Private Idaho in 1991. So if nothing else, this movie had an impact on a very popular cult film that came out much later. And then finally, Kevin Kline requested that his wife, Phoebe Cates, take a small role in this movie. She appeared in the bar disco scene as the girl Joey picks up at the bar. She did this as a cameo and as a favor to her husband. She was also filming Drop Dead Fred at the time of her cameo, which is why her hair looked the same in both movies.
Okay, so I've never seen this film. I was trying to find it on Amazon. I couldn't find it. And Lacey, you held up a Blu-ray. What version is this?
I don't know. I've had it forever. Well, I mean, maybe not forever, but I've had it for a while.
I couldn't find it streaming anywhere personally, unless I missed it. And I'm looking on copies on eBay, and they're like around $20 or more for this movie. So
I didn't realize it was out of print.
Yes, so I didn't end up getting it. I couldn't find it. I didn't see this film. It looks like a great cast. It looks funny. Lacey, obviously you've seen it. Give us your thoughts on I Love You to Death.
It's super funny. River Phoenix kind of steals all of the little scenes, all the scenes he's in, because he's so River Phoenix is in love with Tracy Ullman's character. Tracy Ullman obviously is married to Kevin Kline, who is sleeping his way through the town. And everyone knows it except for the wife, and she finds out, and it's just this whole, it's one of those, it's sort of like the dominoes keep falling and just missing. So they have to keep pushing the dominoes. It's just really funny. It feels like an updated comedy of how to get rid of Rasputin or something. It's just funny.
Gotcha. Kyle, have you seen I Love You to Death?
No, I'm looking at this though, and one of the things I'm noticing, this is the movie where a lot of big stars have really weird hairdos.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially William Hurt. I'm like, okay, there you go. So yeah, it seems to be one of those films that's kind of gotten lost in the ether too. I don't see it like any attention to this film whatsoever. Isn't that so? You haven't been able to rewatch it. I haven't seen it drop on any like HBOs or streamings or anything like that. So. It just seems to be lost. So there you go. All right, guys. The next film we have here is Crazy People. Yes, Crazy People. Comedy made about $13 million in its original theatrical run. Lacey, you're holding up a Blu-ray there. I got just the DVD there. I like yours, though. I like that cover. That's pretty cool. So Crazy People here, guys. Here is the stick on it. A bitter ad executive who has reached his breaking point, lands in a mental institution where his career actually begins to thrive with the help from his fellow patients. Emery works in advertising, begins to crack up. His latest idea is honestly example. Volvos. Yes, they are boxy, but they're safe. This goes down too well with the boss, so Emery is sent to a psychiatric hospital to, quote, recover. Meanwhile, back at the office, Emery's work is accidentally sent to the printers. His ads are a huge success, but now Emery has fallen for another patient, Kathy, who he doesn't want to leave. Directed by Tony Bill, writer Mitch Markowitz, and stars Dudley Moore, Daryl Hannah, and Paul Reiser. Lacey, I don't know if I just necessarily looked for the Blu-ray, but is that an earlier release? I like that. That's pretty cool.
No, this is later. It's got the little insert. This is a Shout Factory release.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's got the double-sided insert, which is nice.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that original poster of. Now, let me bring the poster up here. This is the one that I remember is warning: crazy people are coming, and there's an egg that's cracked with hands sticking out of it, which I thought was a great poster because it doesn't show anyone in it for this film. And I remember seeing the trailer for this movie a lot, guys. I remember seeing Dudley Moore just, he's in his car, he's going to work, he's stuck in traffic, and he sees some guy on his early car cell phone, and he gets annoyed, and he walks over and he grabs it out of his hand and he throws it off the bridge going, "Don't do that. Don't you know that's annoying?" And I always thought that was funny because I thought that was annoying as well back in the day when you see people flaunting their cell phones and they're talking, because they had those larger cell phones and stuff. And I actually did see this movie in the theater. Kyle, give us some trivia first, and I'll go into that more later.
Well, you want to talk about how this could have been a totally different movie? Michelle Pfeiffer, who was dating original lead John Malkovich at the time, was attached to the female lead. When Malkovich walked off shortly before production began, Pfeiffer left as well. They were replaced by Dudley Moore and Daryl Hannah. This is such a different movie.
Can you imagine John Malkovich and Michelle Pfeiffer in the roles of this? Interesting.
Yeah. The last cinematic live action starring vehicle for Dudley Moore in which he is the central character, unlike movies where he's a secondary, like Blame It on the Bell Boy, or part of an ensemble in A Weekend in the Country. He mostly did voices for cartoons after this. His health started to decline pretty rapidly after this.
So this is interesting, guys. As you know, we've been doing a lot of time warps, and I know I think Lacey, you probably like Dudley more than I did, and I think Kyle and I are on the same boat where we're never being big Dudley Moore fans. But I'm maybe be perfectly honest with you, this is really the only film that I like him in, and to me, his character dials it down a little bit more, which is another reason why I like it, because he is inside the mental institute. And there's a lot of really good characters in this film as well. But the idea of an ad exec, just getting crazy and, being sent to a mental institute, and then he starts coming up with truthful advertising, and they're very, very funny. And I remember the Volvos are boxy, but they're safe. I always thought that was kind of funny. And a friend of mine, one of my best friends at the time, had a Volvo, and I always referred to that. But this is probably the only Dudley Moore film that I will own and keep. I'm not a big fan of his films in general. We've discussed that. Lacey, where does this movie stand with your Dudley Moore films? And what do you think of Crazy People?
At this point, I've got 10 Dudley Moore movies, just sort of off the top of my head. That doesn't include some that I probably have over here I haven't scanned in yet. Other than, let's face it, Bedazzled is... that's Dudley Moore and Peter Cook it was one of the classic, pairings, this is up there though. I think between this and Foul Play and Arthur's one of my favorites. Love the concept of just, the crazy, eccentric bazillionaire doing all kinds of weird stuff and falling for a woman who's stealing a tie for Father's Day for her dad, who doesn't wear ties, is hilarious to me. My favorite one in this is Jaguar for men who want to get hand jobs from women they barely know.
Yes.
That's just hilarious to me. And
the truth in advertising was one of the funniest things about this movie. Yeah. That's funny. Kyle, have you seen Crazy People?
I have seen it. like you, Kevin, I'm not a huge Dudley Moore fan. This is one of his funnier films, but it's because of the whole advertising concept and what they get away with it in this film that makes this film so funny to me. It's not one that I'm going to go out and rush out to buy or have a lot of rewatch because Dudley Moore has kind of always been just not that for me. And I know a lot of people like him, and that's great. But for me, it's not that. But this was one of his better films, in my opinion.
I have not seen this movie since I think it originally came out. I might have watched it on video when it came out on VHS. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like this movie again because I remember it sat with me going, I remember I liked that Dudley Moore movie. And as we mentioned in the trivia, this was his last film where he was like, the lead star as opposed to being part of an ensemble. And I remember, Lacey, you were showing up your Blu-ray, and I was looking at prices for the Blu-ray. They're like $20 or more with shipping. I'm like, really? I don't know if I want to spend that amount of money on it. So I ended up buying the DVD. It was like $10 or a little less, I think. So I bought the DVD and said, and I still like this movie. I think it's cute. Yeah. I love Daryl Hannah in this. I think she's sweet. Paul Reiser as his friend that's, back in there. And then I'm forgetting the actor's name that kind of plays the jerk boss. He was good for the role as well. So yeah. So there we go. That is Crazy People. Next we have, guys, and this was another film I had never seen before, and that is Miami Blues. I got the DVD here. Lacey, what did you get there? The Blu-ray? Looks like the special edition Blu-ray. There you go.
This is the MVD Rewind collection.
Gotcha. Okay. Actually, do me a favor. Hold that up real quick because I want to see that a little bit closer there. Put it out there, Blu-ray MVD. Yeah, I did see that one on eBay as well. This is a black comedy made just under $10 million, starring Fred Ward, Alec Baldwin, Jennifer Jason Leigh. The poster says, "Real badge, real gun, fake cops." An ex-con's first act of freedom is moving to Miami, where he restarts his old criminal ways with even more potency. Directed by George Armitage, stars, of course, as I said, Fred Ward, Alec Baldwin, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. And it looks like you just got the reversible cover as well, which I like on there.
Right. Yeah, this is these MVD collections. They all come with a poster.
Nice, very cool.
And the reversible cover. Sorry,
nice. Okay.
Helicopters. There must be. I live right next to a bunch of hospitals, so there must be an accident somewhere.
Kyle, give us some trivia on Miami Blues.
Yeah, Fred Ward originally wanted Jonathan Demme to direct this film. However, Demme suggested to Ward that George Armitage should both write and direct this movie. And Suzanne Vega, who was up for the role of Susie Wagner, she dropped out to make her third album, Days of Open Hand.
I'm trying to figure out here, Kyle. We've seen Suzanne Vega drop up before in other roles. I only know her as Suzanne Vega, the singer. I didn't know people were trying to hit her up for being an actor.
Yeah, most of her work is definitely there, but she does have, I'm looking at her IMDb now, and she definitely has a little bit of some credits there for acting things, especially earlier on in her career. But yeah, I'm the same way with you on that. I was kind of surprised.
So what I find interesting about this movie, guys, is this comes out a month after The Hunt for Red October, where Alec Baldwin is in a huge hit. Maybe it was 2 months. Anyway, I never heard of this film. I don't remember seeing it a lot on rotation. I remember kind of seeing it on VHS and stuff. And I was looking at prices. And I'm like, I'm just going to buy a cheap used copy of the DVD here. Ended up watching it. Kyle, have you seen Miami Blues? Your thoughts on it?
It's been a while. I actually remember this because this was coming out on rotation more in VHS, and it was always something that was available to rent when I was working the rental counter back in the day at the grocery store. And I took it home one night and checked out. It's a fun little movie. The problem with this movie is that it got buried by Internal Affairs because everybody had that mindset for a cop movie after Internal Affairs came out. And this movie is just not what that is. And people were just kind of like, nah, that's not the kind of cop movie I'm in mind for right now. And it just kind of got lost in ether. Plus Baldwin, everybody was talking about him in Hunt for Red October. So it just didn't really have a chance, but it was one of those ones. I think it had a little bit of life on DVD, and a lot of people thought it was a direct to rental film too.
Interesting. Yeah. Lacey, what are your thoughts on Miami Blues?
This was the start of Jennifer Jason Leigh scoring 3 out of 4 makeouts with Baldwin brothers. Because so she was in Miami Blues and Lime Life with Alec. Lime Life came out in 2005. Last Exit to Brooklyn in 1989, and Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle in 1994 with Stephen Baldwin, and then Backdraft in 91 with William Baldwin. So she had between 89, 90, and 91, she was played the love interest of 3 different Baldwin brothers.
That should have been in the trivia. You should have let off the trivia with that.
I was sitting there going, I know that she was in okay, and I know she was in Backdraft. I wonder if she was ever in a film with Daniel Baldwin. So I was looking through, I was like, nope, nothing with Daniel. But yeah, this movie is so silly. It's so weird. It kind of there's a whole kind of plot line where Fred Ward's character has lost his teeth because he voluntarily had like a dentist pull out all of his teeth so he could get
he lost his dentures, his badge, and his gun.
Right. And so there's this whole through line where he keeps losing his teeth or taking out his teeth, and it's like a really weird, character note.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like the last scene, you actually see him say, she's like, "Oh, you look good." And he's like, "Got my teeth." And I'm like,
yeah.
What? That was it was very strange. And there is one scene in this movie where, and you can tell me if you think I'm crazy, Alec Baldwin and Jennifer Jason Leigh are sitting at lunch in like the outdoor restaurant, and she walks up and he looks up and he laughs and he's like, and he talks to her or whatever. And he's in this like bipolar, happy, fun, happy-go-lucky kind of thing. I swear to you, I was like, oh, it looked like it was Chris Evans. He was a dead ringer for Chris Evans.
You can almost see it in the cover here.
It really,
yeah,
it was
because he has his hair dyed a different color.
Yeah, it really did. It take a second. But the whole idea behind the film of him being like an ex-con and then sort of doing it kind of reminded me of what was the movie where we just talked about, I think it was last month, where the guy in the robbery, Blue Steel.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that, only a comedy. Like he gets the bags and the gun, and he starts like just by, pretending to be a cop and like saving people. He goes around like yelling. He actually shoots somebody and then says, "Stop or I'll shoot." And he's like, "You just shot me." So, it's really funny.
He takes the badge and the gun and he uses it, for his own purposes and stuff. And then he likes the idea of being a cop. Kyle,
I just want to say there's a show out there that has a guy taking over the role of a cop that is infinitely better, and it's called Banshee.
Yes. The only thing I'll be honest with you, I didn't like this film. The only thing I liked about it was Jennifer Jason Leigh, because she's kind of like the hooker with the heart of gold, but there's one thing I found interesting about this film that I will give it credit for, is that they start a relationship together. They move in together. Alec Baldwin and Jennifer Jason Leigh's character. You would think it would be a situation where things would get really, really bad between them, but he actually treats her really well throughout the entire film, which she mentions later in the film. Am I remembering correctly here, Lacey, or am I missing a part?
No, you're right. But I was going to give you the reasoning behind it because the commentary is fascinating.
Yeah, please.
So apparently when Alec Baldwin got the role, he had like a couple of weeks. And so he went to an institute of prison, and interviewed and talked to like 24 convicts. And then they kind of narrowed it down to like 6 of them, and then narrowed it down to 3.
Right.
Kind of did that. Apparently the number one thing that convicts have to do when they get out of jail is they will immediately try to find a girlfriend, because they can't get a job. They can't get a bank account. They can't get a phone without an address. You have to have everything in your girlfriend's name. And so this concept of like recidivist, felons who come out and then go back in and come out and go back in, they always try and maintain their girlfriends in the meantime, because when they're out, they can't have, like, you can't sign up for anything. You don't have the ability to get, any sort of, you can't have a bank account. You can't get all these things.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
I'm sure it's probably, well, I don't know if it's changed by now. I mean, the world is what it is.
Right. Well,
but yeah, so apparently that was a big part of why they did it that way.
That was a thing that stood out for me, and I'm like, because Jennifer Jason Leigh, I thought she was really good in this. She was my favorite part of this. But spoiler alert, though, guys, the movie doesn't end well for lead Alec Baldwin, which kind of caught me by surprise. But as you can kind of see when you're watching this film, though, it's kind of a bummer film. He just gets deeper back into his criminal ways, and he ends up getting shot and killed at the end. And I'm just like, how do you sit with this and going, you know what, I want to rewatch this movie again? It's kind of a nasty film that way, wouldn't you say, Lacey?
Yeah, and it also kind of had shades of what was the one we watched with Heart Condition, where she was with Denzel Washington's character, but then the cop, and so they ended up, because there are shades of Jennifer Jason Leigh and Fred Ward kind of hitting it off at the dinner, and then later on when he's trying to like protect her from the certain things, and then at the very end you see her kind of looking at him like, she's gonna need like a savior kind of thing, so you figure 5 minutes out, the 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, whatever, 5 years, 5 minutes after this, she was running up behind him and saying, hey, thanks, can we have a coffee?
For me personally, it's a film I'm not going to hold on to and keep. Are you keeping your Blu-ray?
I think I am. I'm a big, I like all of the actors in it.
Fred Ward I like too, yeah.
I love Fred Ward. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the next film we guys got here, I had no idea this movie existed, and this is coming from a guy who is a huge Christopher Lambert fan from Highlander, obviously, because I co-host a Highlander podcast. Is a kind of a caper film crime heist called Why Me, a comedy starring Christopher Lambert, Christopher Lloyd, and Kim Grease. Apparently, theatrical-wise, it only made about $84,000. A jewel thief steals a sacred ruby, which sets off a chase by the police, the Turkish government, nutty American terrorist, and the CIA. Directed by Gene Quintero. And as I mentioned, co-stars Christopher Lambert, Kim Grease, and Christopher Lloyd. I was not familiar with who Kim Grease was. I actually liked her in this film. And I tried finding this movie cheap. There is a limited Blu-ray release, but it's very expensive. I ended up finding it on VHS.
Oh, nice.
I ordered the VHS for under $10, watched it. So that's how I got my watch in this. Kyle, give us some trivia on Why Me?
In the original novel, Why Me, by Donald Westlake, excuse me. In the original novel, Why Me, by Donald Westlake, it is set in New York City, not Los Angeles. It's the film debut of Rebecca Hurst and film debut of Elena Wall. And the screenplay is credited to Donald Lee Westlake and Leonard Mass Jr., a pseudonym of David Cope, and is based on the 5th book in Westlake's series of the John Dortmunder novels.
I had never heard of this film. I've looked at Christopher Lambert's IMDb for many, many years because I talk a lot of Highlander stuff. And we also talk about a lot of the projects he's been in. I'd never seen this, so finding it was a little tough, but I found the VHS copy, and it was a fun little, kind of like, comedy caper. I thought the pairing of both the Christophers was interesting and fun as well. I thought there was actually some chemistry between them. It's not a great film. I did enjoy it for watching it. I don't know if I'd try to spend enough money to buy that Blu-ray or DVD that was out there because it's not cheap. But I did enjoy it. Don't know if I'll rewatch it again. Lacey, have you heard of this movie, Why Me?
I have. I remember seeing it like a million years ago. I don't, for some reason, I feel like I want to say that I watched this movie and The Real McCoy in the same weekend or something. Like it kind of gave like pairing vibes.
Yeah.
But I don't remember much about this.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What about you, Kyle?
I never even heard of it till you brought it up for this podcast. So,
so I'm not alone there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I looked for it too, and I could only find German copies.
I'll be honest with you guys. I almost left it off the podcast, but I was just like, wait a minute. A caper jewelry heist movie with Christopher Lambert and Christopher Lloyd. I got to bring it up, because Christopher Lambert, of course, has a home here on the Fandom Podcast Network for Highlander stuff. So there you go. All right, guys. The next film we have here is a thriller suspense called Q&A. Made a little over 11 million in its original theatrical run. Q&A, a veteran cop, a young DA, a key witness. They had a murder on their hands that was too dangerous to solve. Dirty cop Mike Brennan thinks he got away with murder, but during a routine Q&A, the righteous assistant DA finds a clue that sets them both on a collision course. Directed by Sidney Lumet, also co-written by him as well. Edwin Torres and Alan Smithy. For those of you that know, Alan Smithy is a name that is put on credit if you don't want to use your real name. Stars Nick Nolte, Timothy Hutton, and Armin Asante. Kyle, give us some trivia on Q&A.
Oh, Nick Nolte gained 50 pounds for his role as Brennan. He probably just took on his 48-hour diet for a little while to get there. But Sidney Lumet, the director, was unhappy with the way this movie was edited for television, so he had his name removed and replaced with the pseudonym Alan Smithy for the television broadcast.
There you go. I actually found a DVD copy of it right here. Found it used. I remember when this movie came out, guys. I never ended up getting around to it. I don't know. I remember seeing the trailer going, kind of sounds like Internal Affairs, but sucks. I wasn't sure about it. I did give it a watch. I'm not going to say it sucked, but it wasn't great. It was interesting to see Nick Nolte as the dirty cop and Timothy Hutton as the young DA. And it was weird, but it was interesting to see Armin Asante come in with a very nice mullet, by the way. Adam from Lethal Mullet Podcast would be proud of this one. It was interesting. It was interesting to see Nolte go dark. And what was interesting about it is that he ends up killing a guy and then planting a gun on him. And he forces some people to be a witness that he had a righteous kill because of the gun. But what he didn't realize, though, is the gun that he put on the guy was not the gun that the guy normally used. And the gun the guy normally used was hidden in his boot, I think it was. And they were able to, pressure Nolte's character into it. And it had a young what's his name? What's his name? The African-American guy. He was in the TV series Rock.
Charles Dutton.
Charles Dutton. Thank you very much, Kyle. Yeah, he was actually good in this as well. And it leads to a kind of a shootout in the police room or something like that. And Nick Nolte gets killed in it. I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. Don't know if I'll rewatch it or save the DVD. I thought Internal Affairs did it better, honestly. Kyle, do you remember Q&A?
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't get through it. It kind of put me to sleep.
It's a tough watch. Yeah,
it's a tough watch. It's a little slow moving. Nolte as a bad guy. He does other dark roles later as his career goes along. So it was like, okay, we got these three actors who kind of have a name to them, but they can carry this, and but none of them had a charisma in this movie. Just felt flat.
Yeah. Lacey, have you seen Q&A?
No, I this just isn't my kind of flick. I think it's drama. I think it may be a little thrillery, but it's more drama than anything else, and that's just not my. That's not my.
Knowing you, it is not a Lacey flick. You can avoid it. So
yeah.
All right, guys. The next film we got here is Space Invaders, a comedy movie for kids, I guess. Family film made about $15 million. And one of the posters says, "For years, science has speculated on the existence of intelligent life in space. Now there's living proof there's no such thing. Dim-witted Martians drop into a little Illinois town on the day that the local radio station happens to rebroadcast Orson Welles' 1938 War of the Worlds." I remember correctly, too. I think it drops right. They come in around Halloween, so they're able to blend in with people. Directed by Patrick Reed Johnson, stars Douglas Barr, Royal Dano, and Ariana Richards. Kyle, give us some trivia on Space Invaders.
The actors performing as the Martians were virtually blind when the Martian heads were in place, so they had to be talked through their actions. Come on, give it a little vision, guys. That's all they're asking for here. Of the 5 actors who portrayed the Martian, Kevin Thompson, who played Blasny, was the only one who both acted in costume and provided the voice for his character. He based his character's voice on Jack Nicholson, who, of course, is an alien in his own right. Blasny also wears an LA Lakers t-shirt under his bomber because Nicholson was a well-known Laker fan.
Guys, I've never seen this film. I feel like I would have seen it if this movie came out maybe about 5 or 6 years earlier, where I would be the target audience. I was not. I heard it's funny. I've watched a trailer for it. It looks kind of funny and cute, but I've never gotten around to seeing this. Kyle, have you seen Spaced Invaders?
I think I've seen parts of it here and there on TV, but like you, I've never really seen it the whole way through.
Right.
And I'm like you, age
It's
difference. At this
It's
time
one of
came
those
out was not
partial
appealing.
movies. Yeah. You've never seen it all the way through. You've just seen parts of it. I know what you mean. Yeah. Lacey, Space Invaders.
Yeah. Okay. So from what I remember, it has Randy Quaid, right? Like Randy Quaid is the main. Like I feel like Randy Quaid was in it. I don't know. I might be mixing it up with something else, but I remembered seeing something like it. And so I went to go get it so I could watch it for this, and it's like super out of print, like $60-$80 for a VHS copy.
Yeah.
$120 for a region B version that I probably can't play anyway.
Yeah.
I was just like, nope.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It's hard to find. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't even think I found it on eBay, and I'm looking at the cast here. I'm not seeing Randy Quaid on this.
I don't know. For some reason, I might be switching it with something else.
Yeah. But yeah, so I haven't seen it. Maybe they should re-release this because I actually would watch it. But I'd like to watch a good copy of it though. But yeah, so there you go. All right, guys. The next film here, as we start wrapping things up for the next few films here, we've got Wild Orchid from the creators of 9.5 Weeks, an adventure of the senses, made about $11 million. It's a thriller suspense. A female lawyer becomes mesmerized with a self-made millionaire during an encounter in Rio, setting off a series of erotic encounters. Director Zalman King, also one of the writers, stars Mickey Rourke, Jacqueline Bisset, and Carrie Otis. Kyle, give us some trivia shout-outs here for Wild Orchid. Lacey, also show the copy you have.
So Mickey Rourke and Carrie Otis were a couple at this time when this film was made, and there is a persistent rumor that the sex scenes were not faked, and there's denials, there's not denials. It's up to interpretation. If you've seen this movie,
They so boned. I'm just saying
it. Brooke Shields turned down the role of Emily because she knew that nudity would be required. Yeah, why was she was auditioning for a Zalman King movie? Come on now. Carrie Otis's film debut in 2004. Carrie denied the rumors that suggested the infamous last sex scene was real. You're lying.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, let's go time travel back to the VHS days of the early 90s. Okay. I had this copy of VHS of Wild Orchid for because I had 9.5 weeks to it. I'll be honest with you, Kyle. Remember we have a segment we need to bring back called VHS double feature.
Yeah.
Well, I had a VHS double feature of 9.5 weeks and Wild Orchid. Yeah, that was some horny time for Kevin right there, just so you know.
And the hormones were in full effect.
I was trying to figure out if they were actually having real sex because I think
no Angel Heart.
No, that movie's nasty, man. Not. Yeah. I want horny films on my VHS double feature, not Wild Heart. That one's. I'm like, I think they're doing it. It's hard to tell, and so yeah. I don't care. I don't care what Carrie Otis says. I think they did it. She's just denying it. So, no, actually, and I have a DVD here of Original Sin with Antonio Banderas and Angelina Jolie, Unfaithful, Richard Gere and Diane Lane, and of course Wild Orchid. I have a little triple feature here. This is the only way I could find it kind of cheap, and I actually think I got this actually at a thrift store if I remember correctly. I think that it's funny, when you have those two movies, and I'm referring to this one, of course, 9.5 Weeks, where you have the self-made millionaire in exotic location with the hot chick. I feel like, all right, we get you. This is when Mickey Rourke was at the tail end of him good looking before he decided to go into boxing, and then he ended up messing up his face and trying to do stuff with it. I like 9.5 Weeks better. Has a better soundtrack as well. Just my personal thoughts. Lacey, you have the DVD there. What are your thoughts of Wild Orchid?
This is definitely. It's not a movie that anyone it's abusive behavior that was not seen as abusive in the 90s, and now you watch it and you're like, oh no, none of this is okay. I mean, Jacqueline Bisset is the elder statesman, right? She's the one she sets up the younger girl with this guy because she's in love with the guy, and he's like, they have like a friends with benefits thing, and she's been in love with him for years, and she wants to see if he has the same attitude towards other women. And so she legit sets up this like 21-year-old like Bambi, deer in the headlights, with this guy who's just going to eat her for breakfast, like kind of literally. And it's just, and the thing is, he tells her he wants her to do all these things, and then she does it, and then he gets mad at her for doing it. And it's like, okay, young Bruce Greenwood in this.
Yeah.
Saw more of him than I expected to see. I'm glad I didn't see this before I met him. We used to live in the same complex, and so we'd see each other all the time around, whatever. We, had some good chats. Nice guy, really nice fella. He likes to sing and do like opera. And I was friends with the girl who lived underneath him, and it was beautiful to listen to.
Oh.
But yeah, it's not one that I'll probably watch again. I think it is a classic, quote unquote, like in air quotes, maybe it's kind of a cinema classic because it's one of the first, it kind of sparked a series of Zalman King kind of going kind of off the deep end after this one.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you bring him up because I wanted to mention this to Kyle because Zalman King made a name for himself, I think, with this film, and then you saw a lot of direct to VHS movies, and you know what you're going to get with a Zalman King film. There's going to be a lot of sex, a lot of nudity, and some type of intrigue. Kyle,
he kind of started getting his name with this film, but let's be honest. When you think Zalman King, you think Red Shoe Diaries.
Red Shoe Diaries, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Zalman King loved him some Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
I mean, Zalman King was let's be honest. Zalman King was the staple founder of Skinamax. Flat out. Let's call a spade a spade. His films were the true start of Skinamax, and from there, I mean, because the Red Shoe Diaries came out, and then they started the Red Shoe Diaries series, which starred David Duchovny, no less, in that. And it was kind of history from there. I mean,
the actress who played Tasha Yar, oh god, I'm forgetting.
Denise Crosby.
She was in one of those too.
Yeah, that was a big deal. That was around the time she did the Playboy layout that led to her leaving Star Trek, and then she did that episode of Red Shoe Diaries. Lacey.
She's also going to be at Huntsville this weekend. So, just saying.
Take her. No, never mind. All right, so Kyle. So your thoughts on Wild Orchid, real quick?
It is what it is. It's a Zalman King film. You know what you're going to get. It has its place. Zalman King, whether you like him or not, has a very distinct place in '90s film history, and he's responsible for a lot of things for a lot of people of different ages. Let's just put it that way.
Well said. All right, guys. The last film that we have here for April of 1990 was a film I never heard of, and I actually discovered it last year. And I'm like, holy crap, this is a 1990 film. And I knew that we were going to be doing 1990, and that is Hired to Kill, a Nico Mantorakis film. Action film. This may have been directed VHS, but I know it got some theatrical release. A group of mercenaries posing as fashion photographer and 7 models travel to a South American island fortress to do a fashion shoot. In reality, the photographer is a mercenary, and their job is to free an imprisoned rebel leader. To sum it up, basically, a mercenary basically gets a bunch of really hot girls. Some of them know a little bit about being bad. Some of them don't, and they are pretending to be models, but he trains them to be basically commandos, Kyle.
Kevin, I just have to say this. I don't believe this movie is from this universe, and there's a very specific reason why that is, and I need you to explain that too. This is like an alternate mirror universe film. And,
Okay.
explain to the
I
people
think
why.
I think I know where you're going with this, but it stars Brian Thompson, Oliver Reed, and George Kennedy. And Kyle, we'll get into that, but I want you to give us some trivia on this first.
Brian Thompson performs press ups with one arm in the training scene, just like his fellow action star Sylvester Stallone did in Rocky II. Of course, they starred together in Cobra, and a helicopter crash while performing an aerial stunt, killing the stuntman Clint C. Carpenter. And then co-writer and co-director Nico Mastakaris personally sees the film as the most ambitious and expensive film he's ever made.
So I'm holding up the special Blu-ray edition that was released recently, the Hired to Kill. This is the newer cover here if you're watching the video. But this was the original cover here called Hired to Kill. You see a hand reaching out of water, holding a machine gun with a snake over it, which I'm trying to remember if that was in the movie or not, and I don't. But I love these reversible covers as you showcased earlier with Crazy People, Lacey.
Yeah.
They have the newer version with the original like VHS release. And also, too, it comes with a really nice kind of like little booklet on the inside of it. And this has Oliver Reed as the bad guy on the back. And this is pre-Oliver Reed before he infamously passed away during the shooting of Gladiator, of course, with directed by Ridley Scott and co-starring, what's his name?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe, yes, that guy. He's kind of famous. Yes, as he plays the villain in this. And it's a two-disc set by Arrow, by the way. And I wasn't sure quite what to make of this film. This film was very silly, but I actually quite enjoyed it. It's 80s cheese at its finest. You got a bunch of hot girls being trained as commandos, and some of them have very interesting personalities, which I found very interesting. They actually filmed it entirely in Greece, including the final shootout scene at the end and everything. But there's one scene I found extremely hilarious, and we're going to talk about Brian Thompson in a second, Kyle, because I got thoughts about him. But there's a sex scene in this film, but I guarantee you the sex scene, I don't think Brian Thompson and one of the girls in this film was actually together when they shot the scene, because all it shows is the girl on her back profile, and she's talking supposedly to him. Then they show Brian Thompson looking down like he's on top of her, but you can never see them in the same frame. So I don't know if this was added later on or what, but
Trying to get POV shots.
it is the worst sex scene ever filmed in cinematic history of all time. And I'm going to include the alleyway sex scene in Highlander 2. I'm just going to put that right there. But what I found interesting about this movie, Kyle, is Brian Thompson plays a good guy. Sort of.
Alternate universe. It is not from this universe, Kevin. I'm telling you right now, it is mirror universe.
Now, for those of you that don't know who Brian Thompson is, I believe he is more famous in playing a lot of heavies and bad guys. You can see him famously getting killed by naked Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, the original Terminator. He's also brilliant as the Night Stalker villain in Cobra, which we will be covering later with our canon 80s film retrospective, co-starring with Sylvester Stallone. He was in Alien Nation as well. And if you look at his IMDb, it's nothing but pretty much bad guys. And of course, a lot of people know him through Star Trek. He's been on several Star Trek as aliens. A lot of people remember him, of course, in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I also remember him in Kindred the Embrace. A lot of bad guy. He's got a bad guy look. He played a lot of heavies. But Kyle, alternate universe, he plays a good guy in this.
I'm just saying there's a problem in the space-time continuum, and I'm scared.
Yeah, interesting, fun. It's become a cult film. I did some research on this. It's typical, 80s, early 90s. It feels more 80s, and we'll talk about that. But I actually enjoyed this film. I'm keeping my Blu-ray. Lacey, have you seen Hired to Kill?
I have not. I tried to find it, and the version that you have was like $42.
I got lucky on this. I think I purchased it. Yeah, I got it for I think $20, maybe. If I remember correctly. I was determined to own this film because I'm a Brian Thompson fan. Kyle, have you seen Hired to Kill?
I had not even heard of it until you talked about it for this podcast. So, yeah.
Okay.
I was shocked. So
yeah.
You said he was a good guy. I'm still blown away.
I almost feel this was the movie that they were trying to make Brian Thompson a thing, because the dude is he's always been cut. He's always taken care of himself. I think he does martial arts as well. He was also, in good shape when he played the Night Stalker killer in Cobra. But he's not a great actor, but he's got a little charisma, especially when he's like a good guy, and we know him well as a bad guy. He's got that charisma as well. So I recommend it. Give it a shot.
Just for the record, he is also in Love's Christmas Journey, a Hallmark film.
What?
Just saying.
Love's Christmas Journey.
Yep,
Okay.
it's a smaller role, but yep, he's in Love's Christmas Journey.
The sound everybody is currently hearing is Kevin and Lacey typing on their keyboards on Amazon right now to see if they can find this DVD.
Oh no!
Baby. I'm writing it. No. Kyle.
I looked at this. I looked on my phone to see how many Brian Thompson movies I have, and I've got 18. And I noticed that. Oh, I was like, oh yeah, he was in that Christmas movie. Just saying.
Well, Kyle, you're wrong. You're right. I wasn't doing that. I was writing it down so I can do it later.
Wait. That's right. It is physical. It is physical. So
he's one of the few people who played more than one character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
This is true. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. This is, of course, Time Warp 1990 April movies and pop culture. Of course, it's more of a TV month here, but let's go ahead and ask the big question, guys. Because these movies were released in 1990, but were filmed in 89 or earlier, which of these films felt like 80s or 90s films? And I'm going to start off with Hired to Kill. This feels so 80s, guys. So 80s. Q&A definitely felt 90s, early 90s-ish for the type of thriller thing that it was going for. Crazy People could have felt late 80s as well. But Lacey, I want to start with you. Which of these films feel 80s or 90s to you?
Just the costuming alone for Alec Baldwin in Miami Blues. Now, I understand costumes have, like, Miami has its own kind of costume. I mean, its own kind of like fashion culture. It really does. And I understand that. But, like, he never wears like a pair of jeans. He's always in like plaid or like peach or like lemon yellow clothes, like with like sweaters and pleats.
Yeah. So that feels what to
very
you?
80s, like very 80s.
Yeah.
Okay. Crazy People. I think Crazy People just because of the vehicles.
Right.
It has like the 90s kind of feel to it. It because it did kind of pop over into that, that edge. But everything else, I think, kind of had that just, it could go either way.
Yeah. What about you, Kyle? Any of these jump out as, yeah, that's 80s or yeah, that's 90s?
Well, obviously Hired to Kill is, and I agree with Lacey. Miami Blues feels very 80s to me as well. As crazy as it sounds, I think Wild Orchid might be the most 90s film in this because of just how you associate Zalman King during that time frame.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So this is Time Warp 1990. Give me your quick final thoughts on this month, Lacey.
I think between Crybaby, Crazy People, I Love You to Death, and Doogie Howser and Wings, this was a good month. I mean, it might have been slim pickings, but the pickings were specific, and I liked more than I didn't like.
Gotcha. Kyle.
This was a month where you're watching a lot of television because this was a rough movie month. Let's be honest here. Yes, if you're a movie aficionado, there's definitely some of these you see, but I mean, when you're talking in Living Color and Wings, Doogie Howser, some of these shows that were out, you were plopped in front of your TV at this point. And,
yeah.
I think that's what this, and it seems like every Time Warp we do, there's at least 1 month where TV rules. And I think for what we've done so far, I think in 1990, this is the month TV rules.
That's a good call. I'm with you there, Kyle. Is definitely the month that TV rules. There's a couple films that we've discussed that obviously I liked and surprised me as well. And some that I didn't see, like, Ernest Goes to Camp and Space Invaders and stuff. I just wasn't quite, I wasn't of the age to where I wanted to see those, to be honest with you. So, yeah. All right, guys. Next month is Time Warp 1990 of May, movies and pop culture. And this is going to be an interesting month here, guys. If you're watching the video, you can see some of the ones that we've highlighted in the cover art. But some of the movies we will be discussing is Happy Together, Short Time, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, Class of 1999, Death by Temptation, A Show of Force, Bird on a Wire, Cadillac Man, Back to the Future 3, and the Top Gun of helicopter movies, Firebirds. And yes, Kyle, yes.
I am the greatest. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. Okay, I have to get my Firebird reference in there.
Make sure you clarify that, because otherwise
Yeah.
it just sounded to the audio that you were just saying how great you were, Kyle. So
Well, I know how great I am, but
we also have some May 1990 TV debuts we'll be discussing: Brewster's Place, Clash, Tailspin, and America's Funniest People. And the top 30 TV shows, the two we'll be discussing is In the Heat of the Night and Major Dad, and of course, many, many more. This is the Fandom Podcast Network. And again, if you have a QR code reader there, check out your camera and follow us there. Appreciate that. We are on Blue Sky, FPNet, or the Fandom Podcast Network is a FanPod Network. You can also find us on X and Instagram and Facebook. So make sure you check us out there as well. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. My name is Kevin. I'm on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, and Letterboxd at Spartan_Phoenix, and on Blue Sky at Spartan Phoenix. Kyle, how can we find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook everywhere with the Fandom Podcast Network pages. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at AKyleW. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at AKyleFandom. You can also find Kevin at Red Shoe Diaries.
Dude, shh. Lacey, how can we find you?
You can find me this weekend coming up on the 24th through the 28th at the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo. I'm not doing social media these days. I'm on Discord and Letterboxd.
At Lacey Pants.
Lacy Pants, that's me.
Awesome. All right, guys. Also, too, you can support the Fandom Podcast Network on TeePublic. You can buy one of my cool Time Warp t-shirts or any other shirts here. You got the FPN shirt there, Lacey. That looks great on you. I love that. You can also buy caps and other things, cups and pillows and all kinds of other cool things. Kyle's got the FPN pillow there. Love that. Very cool. Support us. Get a little.
I just got the official mascots approve of this pillow.
Yes, the kitties love the pillow. So support us there. We'd appreciate that. Lacey, thank you very much. As always, Kyle, thank you very much. This is Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback Show. And of course, we have been discussing Time Warp 1990, and it will continue next month and throughout the rest of the year. Yes, Kyle.
Just one more piece of advice for all of our wonderful listeners out there. Once again, I just have to remember to tell you, homie, don't play that.
Homie, don't play that. There you go. Thank you, guys. And until next time, I'd like to thank you guys again as well. This has been Time Warp 1990 April. Until next time, we will see you back in time.